In the world of 90s JDM vehicles, it seems like almost everything either uses a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder engine. But there are some Japanese V8s out there, and the VH45 is one of them. And today we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the VH45. As you may or may not know, the VH45 is the first engine in Nissan's VH engine family. It was launched at a time when 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder engines were used basically across the board in all Japanese vehicles. Nissan developed this engine after noticing the popularity of V8 engines in other parts of the world, especially America. As time goes on, the following for the VH45 continues to grow, especially in the drift car scene. It was initially developed for the use in the Infiniti Q45, and it was launched in 1980-1990, right at the same time the Toyota 1UZ was launched. At the time that it was launched, the VH45 was a pretty advanced engine using dual overhead cams and an all aluminum design, which wasn't really common for a V8 engine at the time. Looking at the inside of a VH45, it's pretty evident that Nissan wanted it to be a really strong and long-lasting engine. It uses a forged crank, forged connecting rods, 6-bolt main caps, and a full-length girdle. At the top of the engine, you'll find Nissan's variable valve timing system, VTC, which was used to improve low-end power and top-end power, but it wasn't used across all VH45 engines. To save some time, I'll put some stats up on the screen for you here. Looking at these stats, the biggest thing that stands out is bore and stroke. Nissan designed the VH45 as an extremely over-square engine, which means bore is significantly larger than stroke. Now, this results in a theoretically less torquey engine that's more rev-happy, but as you'll see later, it makes lots of low-end power, but it also likes to rev really high. In case you haven't figured it out already, the 45 in VH45 represents the 4.5 liters of displacement of the engine. With the over-square design and Nissan's VTC system, the VH45 makes good power all across the board. It makes really good low-end power and really good top-end power. I wasn't able to find a dyno graph of a completely stock VH45, but this dyno graph of a slightly modified VH45 will show you what I'm talking about. Check out the strong mid-range and consistency of torque throughout the entire rev range. It has really good low-end power and really good top-end power. Now, at the time that the VH45 came out, it was supposed to be limited to around 280 horsepower as per Japan's gentleman agreement, which is still ongoing today, but there are a lot of rumors that the VH45 in fact makes closer to 300 horsepower and that the engine was rated with the VTC system disabled. But the validity of those claims is questionable, but it's widely agreed that the VH45 was a little bit underrated by Nissan. As far as applications go, you can find the VH45 in the 1990 to 1996 Infiniti Q45 and the 1990 to 2002 Nissan President, both of which were designed to get Nissan into the luxury sedan market. Now, the later version of the Q45 used the VH41, and the later version of the Nissan President used the VK45. Today, you'll find the VH45 swapped in all sorts of vehicles ranging from 300ZX, 350Z, 240SX, and a ton of other non-Nissan platforms. Now, compared to other JDM engines, the VH45 is not nearly as popular to be used as an engine swap, and that's mostly because of the giant size, as a dual overhead cam 4.5 liter V8 is physically large, as well as low aftermarket support. Even with the physically large size and limited aftermarket support, the VH45 is a pretty good engine choice for swaps, especially if you plan on doing a lot of drifting. With really good reliability and a really rev-happy design, the VH45 loves to hang out at high RPMs, which is where you're going to spend all your time when you're drifting. Now, it's still a lot less popular than something like an RB26, 2JZ, Chevy LS, etc., but it's still a decent engine for swaps. Now, as far as performance is concerned, it is possible to push the VH45 to around 330 to 350 horsepower naturally aspirated, but that's relatively expensive and takes a lot of work to push it to that level. For those who want boost, the VH45 is a great platform. Once the really weak OEM injectors are replaced with some better injectors and a turbo is added, the VH45 is happy to output around 500 horsepower, but the stock compression ratio of 10.2 to 1 kind of limits it unless you want to run a really high-grade fuel like E85. The VH45 only really has one major issue, and that's the timing chain guide. Nissan used plastic timing chain guides in the earlier VH45s, which weren't a problem when the engine was brand new, but as the engine gets older and higher mileage, that plastic can crack and the chain guide can break and fail. Now, when there's no timing chain guide or a broken timing chain guide, the timing chain can either skip a tooth or completely fall off entirely, and the VH45 is an interference motor, which means you're just going to end up destroying your engine entirely. Luckily, this only affects earlier VH45s because Nissan figured out out this issue and solved it. At this point, a lot of you might be wondering how the VH45 stacks up to the later VH41. Now, these two engines are extremely similar, with the major difference being the decreased stroke of the VH41, which makes it even more extremely over square than the VH45. The cylinder heads on the VH41 supposedly flow more air, and on top of that, the VH41 is physically smaller and reportedly more over-engineered. Overall, the VH45 is an awesome engine. It's a direct competitor to the 1UZ. It sounds awesome. It has pretty good potential. It's significantly cheaper than other Nissan engines such as an RB26. It's pretty lightweight, using an all-aluminum design. It has really advanced dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder. Overall, it's just a fantastically designed engine. But unfortunately, limited aftermarket support has kind of made it unpopular compared to other JDM engines. But I want to know what you guys think. You think the VH45 is a good engine? Do you think it's better than the 1UZ? Is it better than the RB26? Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.